2023. Please let the record show that all city council members are present, with Councilor Stevens will be back joining us in just a moment. We also have members of the city staff as well as members of the public with us tonight. We have asked Councilor Arnold to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance as well as our invocation tonight.
Everyone please rise, please. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
What we do. Our Father in heaven, as we bow our heads at the beginning of this meeting, we'd like to thank Thee for all our blessings and opportunities that we have. We're grateful for the opportunity to serve this community. We're thankful to serve those that visit our community as well. We ask for a blessing in this time upon all of the employees of this city as they serve each and every resident, each and every visitor to Riverdale. We ask that Thou would put a spotlight on them, that people might be able to appreciate the things that they do. We're asked to bless those employees, especially those that risk their lives, that they'll be blessed with safety, that they might be able to return home to their families. And we ask that you bless those families, that they understand the service that their loved one is bringing towards our community as they provide for their families. We're so grateful for this opportunity, and I ask that Thou would bless us, that we might be able to make decisions that Thou would be pleased with, and that we might be instruments in Thy hands. And I say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Councilor Arnold. We'll now have a time for public comment. This is an opportunity to address the City Council regarding your concerns or ideas. No action will be taken during the public comment. Please state your name and your city of residence and try to limit your comments to approximately 3 minutes.
Hi, I'm Cammie Ellis, and I am a resident of Riverdale. I'd like to address you concerning the new road 1500 West that is currently being constructed by America First Credit Union. As I understand it, the name Cozydale Drive is being dropped from that road. I'd like to suggest that a road name that continues to recognize Riverdale's history be used for that road. The name Cozydale is historically significant to Riverdale, but not where the road is being constructed. The Cozydale Fruit Farm was once located in that area in the early 1900s, but it straddled between Riverdale, I-15 where it is now, and Roy City. With the fruit farm, there was a big need for fruit pickers, and the Bamberger Railroad created a railroad stop called Cozydale there. There was also a fruit packing plant that was placed there, and 75 fruit farms from across Weber County brought their fruit to Cozydale to be packed and shipped across the United States. Later, in the 1950s and 1960s, a mobile home park was placed there, but that again was named after that original Cozydale fruit farm. So geographically speaking, Cozydale doesn't quite fit the name for that road, or the current road, or the new 1500 West. The road that's being constructed is now where 4 generations of the Ellis family lived and farmed cherries. I would like to suggest that the road be named Ellis Drive. There are many other streets in Riverdale named after families, including Ritter Drive. They had a dairy farm on what is now Snyder's Riverside Golf. Carter Drive, where Dutch immigrants farmed. And Parker Drive, a family who lived on Parker Drive, and they were historically significant. They had a lot of canneries here in Weber County. But 5 generations of the Ellis family have harvested cherries from the west bench of Riverdale. Alma Ellis was the first. You can see he's on the back wall, right there in the middle of all those men. He, his children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren farmed the land. Alma Ellis was also responsible for locating the first water source that made it possible for Riverdale to become a town in 1946. Alma Ellis also served on the first town board, and he was one of the Riverdale town presidents. His grandson, who you know, Brent Ellis, he also served on the Riverdale Planning Commission and as a member of the city council. The Ellis family provided fruit picking jobs and has served this community for over 100 years. If not Ellis Drive, another name I'd like to suggest is Orchard Drive, to recognize the vast number of orchards that have been on the west bench of Riverdale. The name Orchard also was another stop on the Bamberger Railroad, and those two stops, Cozydale and Orchard, they served Riverdale residents. I'd include Cherry Drive, but we already have a Cherry Drive here in Riverdale. So I have a couple historic aerials from 1937, 1952, and a current one that show where the Ellis family lived, where their cherry orchards were, and where the current road, the new road 1500 West, is going to be put in. So in conclusion, having another street name that recognizes Riverdale's rich farming history can help remind our community of its historical identity. Without the farmers and community members of our past, Riverdale wouldn't be what it is today. And we need to preserve our history or it's going to be lost to time. So would you please consider having 1500 West maintain a name that carries significance of the history of Riverdale City? Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, if I could just quickly say something. I didn't realize that was Cammie Ellis. Cammie Ellis is like a legend around staff around here. She's like the historian, as you could see by her speech there. I've called her before for some help on some background and some history. So, Cammie, we never get the chance to thank you, but you've done an amazing work for our little community, so thank you. And I apologize. I've never met you in face to face. We've just spoke on the phone, so I'm glad that I got to know you finally. So this is Cammie Ellis. So we're happy to have you here.
Mr. Brooks, if I could share something with you, one of the letters in the ramp, it's Recreation Arts Museums, and we felt like at some point it might be nice to apply for some sort of grant that would maybe help Cammie in what she does for Riverdale, whether it's a project or some sort of, even if there were markers along the trail like we have, or markers at different places. But I think we might be eligible for some money under the museums portion of that ramp grant, and I had talked to her about it at one point, and I think she'd be willing to help us out with that, and it'd be kind of a neat thing. She does know more than anybody about the history of
Yeah,
Riverdale.
we'll certainly work on that, and we know how to find her, so
Yeah.
we'll look her up. Thanks, Cammie.
Thank you. All right, seeing no others, we'll move on to presentations and reports. Number one, the mayor's report. I'll try to be quick here. We'd like to thank those that showed up to the Sierra Trading grand opening and ribbon cutting on Saturday morning. That store's pretty cool. I think it's going to do really well, and they were really excited. And I think they said they had 500 applicants for their jobs, or 700 applicants for their positions there at that job, which just blew my mind. But anyway, they're open and doing well, and my family's already done their part to help them be successful this month. So next, some of you participated in the going door to door to help Hill Air Force Base get into some of the homes to do the air surveys. And I just want to give you a little feedback on that. One of the homes that they were allowed into, they did find some of those toxic fumes in there. And so they evacuated the young couple that was living there for several weeks while they went in and kind of mitigated it and put an air circulation system. And it happened to be my niece that was living there. I asked her why she wasn't living in her home there in Riverdale, and she said, the Hill Air Force Base found some problems. So anyway, that's good that we got into a couple of houses. Karina, did you go around on the doors, I think? And anyway, a couple of people went around, some from the fire department, I think. And so anyway, that made a difference. So that's awesome. I would have hated for her to, be living there and have, I don't know, PCBs or whatever it is in the air. So that was kind of cool. The last thing I had is we had a really good meeting with the Ogden Weber Chamber this last week. They had asked for our dues, our yearly dues, and we were like, we're not sure what we even get out of the chamber. Why don't you come and tell us before we pay any money into it? So Chuck came and spent about an hour explaining to us what we get from him. And we just came to agreements on a lot of things. Mr. Brooks was very clear about our feelings about the spikers and really laid it out. Chuck had no idea and emailed me back even later and said, I am going to talk to the spikers and we're going to get that all straightened out. He had no idea that they were kind of infringing on our grand openings and stuff, and that needed to be addressed. Also, he said they have a great relationship with all our elected officials in the area in northern Utah, and he said it would be very easy for them to pull together a meeting of all the elected representatives and senators, to come in and meet with us and explain our problem. He said that's the kind of thing they do, is pull those meetings together. And so we were definitely impressed with that, and so hopefully we can pursue that.
Well, if I could, Braden,
Yeah.
the thing that I think was even more beneficial is we were able to give him our side of things, which again, he was unaware of all this stuff. Nobody knows. They just assume that we're this little rich kid on the block until we start spelling some of these things out, and then they're kind of surprised. So I think it was helpful in that sense, and hopefully we can use that in the future, especially as the hold harmless comes closer and stuff. So.
Yeah, he does rub shoulders with a lot of the business owners and also the elected officials, and so he might be able to help dispel some of those myths about Riverdale's finances and stuff. If somebody says, "Oh, Riverdale's got tons of money," at least we were able to help him understand that we don't. And that's all I have. We'll move on to the city administration report with Mr. Brooks.
Thank you, Mayor. Department heads' reports are all in your packets. I don't know if you have anything in particular you want to address, any of them that are here. I would draw your attention again. This was one we included last week or 2 weeks ago in our budget presentation, but that sales tax report, and again, the one that really jumps out at you that should be more alarming than any of them is the February of this year, where you can see it's dropped down a fair amount. I mean, it's concerning because it's the December month that comes out, and Cody kind of explained all that last year. We don't get it until February, so that's the one that's reported. It's 2 months behind. But we are down, and that's the first time in quite a while that we've been down. That's not a good indicator for a city who relies so heavily on sales tax. We don't want that month especially to be down. So it's generally a little bit indicative how the rest of the year is going to be. So we'll continue to watch that closely. But every month I would encourage you to look at that because it's kind of telling us what's going on. And I think I explained all that too, that Kaysville did an analysis of theirs, and it's not just the fact that it's down. The only reason it's even up as high as it was is because of inflation. It's not increased sales, and so that's even worse news, and I suspect it'd be the same here. So we got to be careful and kind of keep an eye on that. Things aren't as rosy as we'd like them to be there. So are there any questions on any of the department reports? I think they were pretty clear there. Employee recognition, you'll see we have Miranda Rizzi, who's with Community Services, has 9 years. She wouldn't normally be here on that. However, we do have Officer Ty Dalton, and I did see that he walked in. So Ty is on his 5th year, and we do have a little certificate and an award here if he would come up. I saw him sneak in somewhere. And Mayor, if you want to. I don't think he was expecting this. I had to have Scott call him in because he was on duty. So,
real quick. So it's crazy. It's been 5 years since Ty came over here. It doesn't seem like 5 years when I got the notice he was up for that. I just thought, wow, time does really fly. He's actually in our investigations unit right now as a detective. He's out working a DUI shift tonight, an extra shift after his normal shift. He's very dedicated to his job. When he came to work for us, he kind of took over our canine program that was having some problems. And he's well known in the canine world with training and judging dogs and doing all sorts of stuff. And he kind of took our program to a whole new level. And so he's a guy that, I mean, we can always rely on, and he's an extremely hard worker, willing to work whenever we need him and do everything that's been asked of him. So he's a great asset to the department. I appreciate everything that he does for us. So
Thank you. All right, we got a certificate here for you that recognizes your achievement of 5 years, that is awesome. And but even more important, we got an extra something special in here for you. So you enjoy that, and just know that we appreciate all you do. Council Arnold mentioned that we pray for you guys, and we want you and your families to do well, and we do think about you. And that's one of the things we're most concerned about. We just hope you have our full support. So absolutely, there's that, and congratulations. Thank you very much.
as far as the staffing authorization goes, I did address that. I did see that in the packet, and we will get further work on that, see where we can get on that one. Community development report. Some of you were at the generator super center over in the Katrubis Plaza there. That was kind of fun, interesting that day. We had a good time with that one. So they are open and up and going. Sierra, as the mayor mentioned, that was a fun one too. A little bit different. It was a Saturday morning, really early, which I had to come in from Brigham. That was my first. I don't ever remember one being on a Saturday that early, especially. But they, I'll tell you a little story here. They hid little gift certificates around the store. Some of them were $100 ones, $50 ones, $25s, and all that kind of stuff. Our own city recorder found a $100 one, and her husband found a $50 one. So, and these weren't things you could just find easily. Like Michelle was actually shopping, and it just happened to be the shirt that she was looking at stuffed in a pocket to find that $100 one. So, I mean, it's just a fluke, but it's kind of funny, you know. So, congrats to her. But one other thing I would say on that, and this goes back to. I've pushed these grand openings hard. In fact, I just called Mike this afternoon. I said, why hasn't the Buckle done a grand opening? I went by Buckways, the Twisted Sugar. I saw the Buckle just today, and I wanted to ask him because the Buckways, I'd seen some stuff on Facebook, so I thought they were open. So I said, how come we haven't done a grand opening? Well, they hadn't. I got the whole story today, but I want people to know that people come to Riverdale. And so the more people we have out there, the better. And so I've encouraged the staff, and it's been really cool. And this is where I'm going in my whole story. On Saturday, I got there a little bit early. I didn't know how long it was going to take me with the weather and stuff, so I left early. And the only one that was there initially from our staff was a police officer. So I went over, and he being a new hire, I was kind of teasing him a little bit. I mean, he's only been on the job a couple of weeks. And I said, so you're still here, you know, kind of teasing him a bunch. And he's actually one of our officers we're going to swear in tonight. But it was kind of cool because that district manager came up to me afterwards and he said, we have never had a police or fire department show up at any of our grand openings. This is nationwide. So I thought that was kind of cool. And so kudos to them, and we appreciate it. And I know that they got the rundown from Scott, and he did show up. And so I appreciated that. I think that makes us look good. And they said that to us. They said, we were really shocked. We didn't know that people did this. So. But we're proud of our businesses, and we want them to know that we appreciate them because they are our lifeblood. We need them here. So I will follow through on the Buckle and then the other one that's over there because I still think we need to. It's free advertising for them. I mean, at least for our services that we can offer them. So we'll see if we can get something like that. The Twisted Sugar I did mention. They are really close. No one was there today, but I think they passed all their inspections. Is that when it is? Okay, so Saturday will be their first day open. Looking in the windows, they're really close. They're ready to roll, so that one's going to be good. The Fizz, drove by that one today. They're getting closer too. Cheddar's, man, that one's the one it's frustrating. These guys are out-of-state contractors, the General is, and sometimes these people, it's the same thing with In-N-Out. When they come here, they're not used to Utah weather. Like In-N-Out, I remember their biggest problem was their sound system. They couldn't get it to work in the cold because they're used to being in Southern California. So it was such a shock for them. But Cheddar's is kind of finding the same thing. They've got a roof over there that hasn't been covered completely yet, and we've been having all these storms, and we're just getting really nervous about this whole thing. They're frustrated. They want to get open, but he said they were at least 4 weeks out, and speaking with Jeff, he kind of figured maybe 8 weeks out, but they're getting close. So that's going, and that one will be better. It looks good. The parts that you can see inside and stuff, it's going to be nice. So.
Are they using the same contractor that did Chick-fil-A?
There is a connection there, Alan, to be honest with you. And so the Buckways, the Americop carpets, they're getting close to. They again had a problem. And a lot of these things get caught in our inspections. We tell them you got to do this and this and this, and these contractors try to cut corners and stuff, and then they get nailed on it. And so we say, no, you're gonna have to come back, tear that roof out, and redo this kind of thing. They're not happy with us, but these are health safety issues that we can't cut slack on. So, and then Shake Shack actually started some things today, I think, or this week. They're breaking ground. So. All those things are moving. There's all kinds of stuff. And some of that I'll even tell you a little bit more about in RDA stuff. So things are looking good in that sense. Some of them we haven't heard for a while, but they still seem to be moving. So with the ultimate goal is if we can replace some of these businesses that we lost, like the RC Willie's and stuff, hopefully that would help make up some of that shortage in the sales tax revenue. But things are looking good. We're still quite strong with the warmer weather. It's picking up. We've been really, really busy the last couple of weeks. So that's all I had. Mike, do you have anything else you wanted to add onto that? Okay. That's all I had, Mayor, if we want to move on to the swearing in of the
Okay.
new officers.
Yeah, we'll move into the swearing in of the new police officers. Ms. Maragoni and Chief.
Real quick, before we do that, I want to just recognize an individual. You guys may not know, we're going to have another retirement, and Sergeant Pippin is going to retire in about a month, which I shouldn't have done this.
He's been here for a while.
It's going to be hard to lose him. If you've ever worked with Joel, he does his job the right way. And I've seen him in some really difficult situations with, I remember it's been a few months ago, we had a suicide with a young kid. And if you could have seen how he dealt with the parents, you can imagine what that scene is like. It was incredible. So we're really gonna miss him, and I just wanted each of you to know how much we appreciate him and the work that he's done, and he's decided to move on to something different in life and try a new career. But I wanted to just quickly recognize him to where he was here tonight in front of all of you and express my appreciation to him for putting his life on the line for the people that live here and for all of our fellow officers. He's been a model employee the whole time he's been here. No issues whatsoever. And I still remember the day that we hired him. I was a sergeant at the time, and they put me in charge of the hiring process. And I remember after about 5 minutes, we were up at Weber State's indoor track. I thought, that's who we're going to hire. I just knew immediately just from my interaction with him. And it was a good call. He's been awesome. So thank you, Joel, for everything that you've done for us here. Really appreciate you. Okay. Come on up, guys.
Got a standing ovation in the back, by the way, just so.
Man, I'm getting old. I cannot. Does that just happen as you get older? You know, I'm getting really soft or something.
It does, Scott.
Anyway, this is exciting. Noah Shears, Nathan Zog, they're both coming to us from the Weber County Sheriff's Office. And Noah has 9 years of experience there, and Nate has 8 years there. So we're bringing in some good, we hired some newer guys that didn't hardly have any experience, and now we brought in a couple of veterans in there. And Michelle kind of joked with me that, well, you hired Noah, Zog's probably going to follow him. These two are good buddies down there. In fact, if you notice, our kids were even, talking and playing with each other back there. So that's kind of a cool, unique thing. These guys did great work at the county. Noah was a school resource officer out at Fremont High before he came here, and they absolutely loved him out there, and I'm sure that was a kind of a difficult position for him to leave. And Nate also had been a school resource officer, Rocky Mountain, right? Yeah. Out at Rocky Mountain, and he was serving in their traffic unit before he came over. But they both have a ton of experience down there, and they're just great guys. I've already had tons of comments about them working out there on the road from fellow officers and also from some citizens too. And they're just good, calm, even-keeled guys that are going to do a great job out there. So we love that we were able to bring them over here, and we hope that they have a very full, long career here. So thanks, guys, for being here. Thanks for applying. So we'll have and the other thing I want to say is we appreciate the families being here, your wives and children. You guys are a crucial part of our department. We're all a big family, so we appreciate you guys and support you any way we can. So.
I also want to say that it's like a reunion from the county here tonight. Dalton's also going to
It really is.
So it's like old times. All right. You guys have done this before, but raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Nathan Zog,
Do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America.
do solemnly swear.
I didn't. Hey, that was a test. We'll start over.
We can just read it.
Then I can't read it here.
Yeah, how about just have one?
Okay, there we go.
There we go.
All right, I state your name.
I, Nathan Zog,
Do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the. No, I can't even do it. I'm reading it. And defend the Constitution of the United States of America.
do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America
And the state of Utah.
and the state of Utah
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
And that I will discharge my duties as a Riverdale police officer with fidelity.
and that I will discharge my duties as a Riverdale City police officer with fidelity.
That's me.
I think one thing we failed to mention is one of them, I believe, is a Riverdale resident too. So that always adds
See
some.
how that works out. See how
The other one's at Washington Terrace residents.
So they're both close
They're
then.
local guys. Yeah, locals.
Welcome to the family.
Yeah,
Thanks, guys.
yeah. We do appreciate the families being here and the rest of the police officers. So thank you. All right, we'll move on next to our flood update and report. Mr. Brooks or
Thank
Chief
you.
Shawley?
Thank you, Mayor. Just by way of an introduction, we've been working on flood stuff for a little bit of time now, in high gear, more so in the last couple of weeks. And so I had this on the agenda at some point in time, and then Chief Shawley called me and wanted to know if we wanted to get an update. And he's in the middle of this, so we probably should have him give that. He can fill us in on what we're doing, the actions the city's taken, and where we're at this point. So we'll turn it over to Chief Shawley at this point.
Thank you. So we've taken a pretty good proactive approach to this, and historically with Riverdale City flooding, it's probably a good approach to take. I was here in 17 when we had it come over the bank and start heading towards River Glen last time and pumped that all up all night long. So I think it's a good approach. So some of the stuff we've done, you guys have probably already seen, all the websites that have been posted on the city website and all the links. Also on social media, we've posted things like up to 20 sandbags free at Parsons, and we've tried to continually keep the public updated what we're doing. And as we start looking at equipment and supplies, we've inventoried all our emergency radios. We went down and conducted a test of the emergency radios, which yours works fine. And we've started, and Sean went down and stored sand at 3750 at the trailhead. So we've got 2 loads of sand down there. Then we have the volunteers. Some of you have probably seen and signed up for volunteering in Riverdale City. We still have about 13. Is that where we're at?
16.
16. So we have 16 people who've signed up to help volunteer. We're planning on doing a sandbag fill with some people who will come in and participate as lead volunteers that we can identify on scene with vests, so they can support the other volunteers that come in with how to fill a sandbag, how to stack a sandbag. And so the fire department will be out there Saturday. Sean's bringing his on-call guy, and hopefully we'll get about 10 volunteers to come help with that. We also purchased today a 14-foot trailer, enclosed trailer. We had an old storage shed you've probably seen at the fire station. That thing was packed full of emergency management and mass casualty incident supplies. Non-mobile. The thing's falling apart, so we went out and purchased a trailer to make that mobile, and that's going to help with on-site volunteer signups as well. And if we have to start doing that and everybody doesn't go to the community center, which we anticipate some of that happening. And then preparation, Sean's went out and very progressive. He cleaned out right below the head gate in River Glen. We've got that dredged out, cleaned out all the way to the river, and we've assessed the berm that we put in 2017. That's in good shape. And then we've looked at all the sandbag areas, and we're going to identify those with mapping. So when the volunteers come in, we know exactly where to send them. And the radio communication will help with that too. Donations, we found Home Depot gave us 10 shovels, 15 sets of gloves. I went to Sam's Club today, and they helped us buy water, food for volunteers, and storage containers. So we have some volunteers with our business community as well. Today I submitted a reimbursement that went to Weber County. We may or may not get this, but the state has allotted $5 million for flood preparation reimbursements. So between a new pump that we purchased, sandbags and sand, the trailer, and a potential drone, we're submitting $29,000 for reimbursement. So any questions on my end?
They've also announced it in church meetings, being prepared to volunteer, so if there's any way to get anything you need, because that's where it's gonna be, is you're gonna have people showing up that don't have a clue where to go. So
I reached out to Max Patterson a little over a week ago, and he was going to recontact me hopefully this week, and was working on some of that to get it out to the wards and the bishops and everybody to start announcing that. Haven't heard anything back yet, but I'm assuming we'll hear probably the next day or two.
I'll bounce him for you, and make
So-
sure he's contacting you.
We've also contacted America First. Jen's working on stuff at America First. We've reached out to Alpine, haven't heard anything back from Alpine yet. So we've kind of hit those three main groups right now, trying to kind of get them activated and moving forward too. Weber County's ready to pull the trigger. I've kind of, without saying, lined up pumps, support, and then hopefully we won't bring an EOC up, but that could be something that they can help us out with.
Is there any plans to get it past the bridge? I've talked about that all the time, because a lot of the pumping we do is
Back to the river.
from the subdivision back to the river, which makes no sense.
Right.
So, I mean, is there a piping system that we can put in for however many 100 yards that is, and so when we're pumping something, it's just going on the other side of the bridge?
So what Weber County's told me, they're flying it with drones. They're flying the flood areas. They're planning on keeping something, is what I've heard, at the 12th Street Bridge that generally is where our big plug is. In 17, that's what flooded us, is the 12th Street Bridge, believe it or not, filed up like a beaver dam, and it backed us all the way back up. As soon as they relieved the beaver dam, the 12th Street Bridge, all of our water receded down back into the river. So that bridge is a big one we got to keep open. And it seems like if we keep that one open, it doesn't come back on us as heavily. So they are actively looking at all the bridges, all the flood areas right now with drones.
I didn't think of downstream. I'm just looking at our bridge, thinking
Yeah.
that was the issue, our issue.
And I was talking to someone that helped with it down in 2011, and they had a piece of heavy equipment put there at the bridge. E.K. Bailey put one of their big tracos there in case stuff started to back up at that bridge. And I don't know if I know that big traco's not ours. That's at the trailhead. We might not have anything that big, but anything that we could, jump over and even reach, and try and break up. And several residents have reached out and they're worried about the deadfall along the river. I haven't seen it myself, but they said that there's a lot of stuff, and if we could, preemptively get any of that, or I don't know, but anyway, it's something.
At 17, I was seeing a ton more debris in 17 than I am now, and we had the
Yeah.
same river heights. So maybe it's a good sign that a lot of that's been cleared out. And I know Sean's been pretty active on our riversides, clearing some of that debris out from the windstorm. So
The River Glen canal looks fantastic. Like that is going to buy us time for years and years. It's great. I did have some people reach out. The 3750 back in that area. There's another one that's got some debris in it and stuff. You might even be able to get like a smaller piece of equipment back in there. Maybe even I don't know if you have a razor or something, you could get back in there with some chainsaws and something to pull some stuff out of that little canal. It's not as bad and not as big, but it
I
does.
think we had that on our radar already.
Yeah, we've
talking
talked about all
that
these things. Sean's been pretty active on that. They watch that, monitor the water level numerous times during the day. I usually get a report in the morning. So this is just one of those things that it's all weather related, and it depends on what the weather's going to be. The one thing we don't want to do is panic people, and that's how this whole thing started 3 or 4 weeks ago. Somebody had gotten up in church and told everybody to start getting sandbags. So we started getting bombarded with calls, and we're going, what are you talking about? We weren't even close then. River's come up quite a bit since then, but we're just barely higher than we were last week at this point. So we're keeping it a pretty tight eye on it, and we're ready to kick everything in gear once. Some of the stuff that Chief Shelley didn't mention, we're using some QR codes and some wristbands and things like that to try and coordinate not only us getting the volunteers in, but being able to track that better. Because if you recall, one of the things we ran into last time was we couldn't get those reports back to the feds to get reimbursement on all that stuff. So all these things are in place. We're just waiting, and it's all weather related. Just so if you understand that, like the Weber Basin and the other water companies, the stuff that's above the reservoirs, we're okay on. It's everything below that. So anything below East Canyon or Echo coming down Weber Canyon is a concern. If it gets warm fast, then we're going to be in trouble. Then it's going to come because they can't control it. It just comes. There's nothing you can do. Same thing with Pine View and Causey and stuff. If it's above that, they're pretty good at regulating that. But it's the stuff below we can't do anything, and that's all weather related. If it's a lot of heat or a lot more moisture through these rainstorms, that's why we're a little nervous this week, as we have these rainstorms coming in. It all adds up to that. So we're just watching it. We don't want to panic everybody, but we got to be ready, and I think we're ready to go if we have to. So
Yeah, that last rainstorm surged just about a foot. So the head gate we're looking at is just below the off ramp going into Mountain Green, is where that head gate is. If you look on the map on that, but yeah, Steve's right. Everything below that head gate, that's why we have to keep monitoring it. And I want to do a little shout out. So we have a little IT nerd here is what we're she has set all the volunteer stuff up between her and Rich. They've worked really hard on getting that established and having that available, even to the point where we're going to, like Steve said, we're going to have a QR code on site that they can scan and go right into the volunteer program. So
There's a phone number they set up. You just text emergency to, I think it's 801-621-6084. You just text emergency to that number and you're enrolled, and you'll get the text and stuff, and it will link you to the form to put your email and stuff in. But Councilor Stevens, did you have something?
Yeah, we had mosquito abatement the other day, and Weber Basin did brief, and a couple things that they said, kind of same thing there. East Canyon, Echo, on that side is, those two reservoirs are full, whatever full is. On the other side, Pine View and Causey are not. They're still low, and there's concern now. Of course, East Canyon and Echo feed into the Weber, and Weber comes in here. Now, the one thing that they did say, now, the reason why we get the brief is the surface waters and the impact on mosquito larvae. But the one thing he did say that was very interesting was the lagging indicator is the aquifer. Hasn't risen. And it has a 5, 6 to 8 month lagging indicator for the water to go into the ground, into the aquifer. So pumping the water from the aquifer, where we get a lot of our water, is still very much a concern, even though we've got this surface water. Anyway, that's all.
Interesting. And then Councilor Hilton, you had something?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you for all your efforts. This is the most prepared we've been since I've been here, since I've been involved. This is very proactive, and I'm impressed. So I don't want to say we're out of the water, but I'm impressed that all the work you're doing in advance. So.
yeah, it's been a partnership through all the departments, so it's been
The city has
good.
been great.
Yeah.
And they're trying not to panic anybody, but in the background, just know that they're meeting and they're working and they're thinking and we just don't want to, we don't want people coming to fill sandbags and then them going to the wrong places.
Nope.
And the flood will come in probably late April to May, to be honest. We're not really there yet.
On the way.
So, yeah.
Just one other thing. I know if we can put it in the newsletter or something about cleaning out the drains around people's houses, because like I had a couple of calls about people asking for Sean's guys. They're like, it's clogged. Send Public Works out to so I went out there myself with the rake down at their house. I'm like, this isn't that hard, people. So if people are cleaning out their gutters and stuff like that, it really helps keep our Public Works people available for where they really need to be instead of that kind of junk.
we'll get that out. Alan,
Check
that's a
your
good
sump
idea.
pumps and get an extra one. they're running out of pumps at Home Depot. So.
Yeah, I would
Yeah, if you can
imagine
even find
now's
them.
the time to get your pumps. Yeah, for sure.
As another part to that, I just wanted to update you a little bit on the hillside. When this whole thing started 3 or 4 weeks ago, I got a little bit nervous about that because we haven't had a wet year since the slide. And so we've assigned Randy. Randy goes over on that at least daily. I don't know how many times he goes over, but he's got a spot. He's picked a manhole cover that he sits his camera up on so he can take exact pictures of it. And then he looks at it in a series to see if we're seeing any movement on that. We have not, and that's good, but that still makes me really nervous because we still have a house up there that we're only within 3 feet of having to kick them out. That was from the time before. And so we've been up there, we've measured it, everything seems to be fairly stable, but then this afternoon, and again, I'm only bringing this up because we have no reason to believe that it's moving, but we're not the experts on that. We've reached out to the state, and Shelley will reach out to him tomorrow. I tried to get a hold of the same guy we had up here last time, because we still have those monitors up there in the ground. But we quit monitoring because it wasn't moving. But I'm going to bring them back and start it up again just to be safe. I don't want to take a chance on that where we've got houses so close to that. So we'll get them back here and involved. But where I was going is we had a citizen come in today that really worried me a little bit. She's not right on the front of that. She's a little bit more interior. But she's been hearing things below her house. Noises, and she said that the cracks in her driveway and stuff have started to increase, and so that's kind of what happened last time. That water just built up, and that's what we don't want to happen again, and it build up until it got so strong it blew it out. So we'll be jumping on that probably even heavier starting tomorrow on that one, just because I'm a little bit more nervous about that than I was a couple of weeks ago. We thought we were relatively safe, but we did see some little break-offs, but they were in situation that you would expect, where it's overhanging and stuff like that. It's just going to break off when it gets wet. But we haven't seen any massive slides, and the flows down below are still clear. That was one of the indicators we had last time, is those flows turned brown, both a little right before and then continued to stay brown for quite a while. So we'll continue to watch that one. But like I said, I don't want to panic anybody because we have no indication that we're even going to have a flood. But we need to be ready one way or another. So that's where we're at on all that, just so you all know if you could ask, and defer them to us, and we'll handle it at that point.
Okay, thank you. We'll now move on to our consent items. We have the one consent item, consideration to approve the meeting minutes from the February 21st, 2023 council work session and council meeting. Are there any corrections or changes to those minutes? Seeing none, a motion to approve would be in order.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? All in favor say yes.
Yes.
All right. Any opposed? That passes unanimously. Very good. We'll move on to our action items. Number 1, consideration of Resolution 2023-13, amending personnel policies 8-2, travel and training, expenses, 12-3, testing policy, and 9-16, workers' compensation. Ms. Como.
So as we discussed in the work session, we are amending policy 8-2, travel and training, to update the per diem limits and create ease of administration in the future. So we have just hooked those limits to the federal government, and those limits are available at gsa.gov. Currently, those limits are $13 breakfast, $15 lunch, $26 dinner. Any questions on that one? Okay, and then the other two policies I have here, 12-3 testing policy and 9-16 workers' compensation. We're just clarifying what is considered a DOT recordable accident in both of those policies. Sean just had some concerns when we went over the policy about what actually is a DOT recordable accident. So I did go to the Federal Motor Carriers Safety Administration website and looked that up, and this is the definition that they had there, so we have just add that vehicle information in.
Any questions for Ms. Como? Councilor Arnold?
Move to approve Resolution 2023-13 as stated within the packet.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? Ms. Maragoni, will you poll the council?
Counselor Merrill?
Yes.
Counselor Arnold?
Yes.
Counselor Hilton?
Yes.
Counselor Hanson?
Yes.
Counselor Stevens?
Yes.
Very good. That passes. And just so you know, my job does the same thing with linking it to that GSA website. So I think it's a pretty common thing. That's good.
Make it easier.
It'll take it easy, make it easy on you. Yes, very good.
Thank you.
Thanks for fixing that.
And thank you for doing that, so we don't have to see it every time, $2 or whatever.
I'll try to do that with more of them.
Thank you.
She threatened me if I didn't get her first on the agenda. She thinks you guys are in a better mood if it's the first one rather than the last. So next time I'm putting her last. So
Kidding?
you guys got to beat her up. You're too easy on her.
All right. We'll move on to item number 2, consideration of resolution 2023-11, approving an interlocal agreement between Riverdale City and Weber County Clerk's Office Elections Division for services assisting the city in conducting the 2023 and 2025 primary and general municipal elections. Ms. Maragoni.
Like it says in the title there, it's just an updated interlocal agreement for Weber County to conduct our municipal elections for those 2 years. They update it every couple of years, so the new contract agreement.
Any questions on that? Then we would need a motion. Councilor Arnold.
Move to approve resolution 2023-11 as stated within the packet.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? All right, Ms. Maragoni, will you please poll the council?
Counselor Stevens?
Yes.
Counselor Merrill?
Yes.
Counselor Arnold?
Yes.
Counselor Hilton?
Yes.
Counselor Hanson?
Yes.
Very good. Passes unanimously. We'll move on to item number 3, consideration of resolution 2023-14, approving a surplus water sales agreement with Roy City. Mr. Brooks.
Thank you, Mayor. This is, as I mentioned in the pre-planning meeting, this was the agreement that we brought into you all back in December without a couple of little particulars. They are in there now. The primary one being item number 1, the sale of surplus water, not to exceed 15 acre feet. That's actually going to be more than we'll ever use, most likely up there. But Sean wanted a little bit of cushion in that, and they were agreeable to that. So this will come up. I don't know what the exact figure. I think roughly around $5,000 a year is all it'll cost us. So relatively speaking, that's a drop in the bucket, and it's a needed service. We have no choice. We'll continue to maintain the lines and all that kind of stuff. But Roy's been very accommodating and worked with us really well on this. So we're excited to have that in place, and it'll save us millions of dollars in effect, long-term wise. So I would recommend we approve this and get that signed over. They have signed off on it, and they're ready to go. We've been operating since that happened just like this. We give them a monthly reading on our meters and stuff. So it's worked out well, and I think it'll continue to. So it's a good deal for the city.
Councilor Stevens.
Is this, so are we metering the water we're buying? I mean, so are we paying for 15 acre feet flat out?
We will pay for what we use.
Okay, so it is being metered then.
Yeah, we have meters up there on all of our places.
So if we don't use but a fraction, hypothetically,
Yeah,
then
we're
whatever the
we're fine
program-
on it. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a good deal. And it also, like they had a similar agreement with West Haven where they had a set amount. Well, when you looked at that was done, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago, and that should have been updated. This whole thing's kind of helped Roy a little bit too. They've never renegotiated that, but we build ours into it where it's kind of automatic if they need to do that. So we're aware of that. And they
So
don't have
this
to worry
doesn't
about
sunset or?
No, not unless there was a shortage of water for their citizens, then they could pull out of it. So we're okay on it.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? Councilor Hanson.
So there's not a master meter on the connection, it's just the individual residential and commercial?
I think he ended up hooking one on there just because we did that at the start because we didn't know exactly what we were going to do. So I think there's a way of doing that as well. So, yeah.
Okay.
Councilor Arnold.
Move to approve resolution 2023-14 as stated within the packet.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this motion? Ms. Maragoni, will you please poll the council?
Counselor Hanson?
Yes.
Counselor Stevens?
Yes.
Counselor Merrill?
Yes.
Counselor Arnold?
Yes.
Counselor Hilton?
Yes.
All right, that passes unanimously as well. Well, this has been so fast, I don't think we've had a chance to get in a bad mood for this last item, so that's good. I was a little worried. Okay, all right. Item. Yours was so easy it would just fit there. So number 4, consideration of a small subdivision proposal for the crossroads at Riverdale subdivision located at approximately 4844 South, 1500 West, as requested by Riverdale Commercial Holdings LLC and AWA Engineering. Mr. Eggett.
Thank you. And Riverdale Commercial Holdings is represented tonight by Alex Knorr, who's in the audience. Thank you for being here, Alex. 5-lot subdivision, small subdivision, located in the C3 zone. Came before the Planning Commission on February 14th. At the conclusion of their discussion, they approved the preliminary plat and submitted the favorable recommendation to the City Council for approval of that plat. All the city department heads and engineer are supportive and feel like everything has been met for the subdivision and have reported such in the packet. And you have the application and supporting drawings for the plat in your packet. And that's all I have at this time, unless you have any other questions for me or Mr. Knorr.
Sounds like an order or a motion would be in order. Councilor Arnold.
Move to approve the small subdivision proposal for Crossroads at Riverdale subdivision as stated within the packet.
Second.
We have a motion and 2 seconds. Any discussion on that motion? Let's see. Ms. Maragoni, do you want to poll the council on this one?
Counselor Hilton?
Yes.
Counselor Stevens?
Yes.
Counselor Hanson?
Yes.
Counselor Arnold?
Yes.
Counselor Merrill?
Yes.
There you go. Unanimous. Very good. Thank you. All right. Let's move on to the comments section for this meeting. Are there any comments from the city council for this meeting?
Good thing you don't work for Ensign.
Shoot. Oh, jeez. Okay. Any other comments from the city council? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to city staff. Any comments from the city staff?
I'll try to give comments. I won't get us sued here, Mayor, if I can. So I'm just kidding. I actually asked Rich to come in. I was going to do this a little earlier, but I thought maybe I'd have to save it here. He's been out of town. He just got back in town, but he informed us of a kind of a little award that Riverdale City received just today at about 4:45. So, Rich, if you'd come up and explain to him what happened.
So I was out of town last week at a conference for Parks and Recreation professionals, and at the conference, I was informed by the Utah Jazz that Riverdale City has been selected as the Utah Jazz Program of the Year. And they had a banquet tonight, not a banquet, but an award ceremony tonight where Bailey, our coordinator who runs our junior jazz program, accepted the award on behalf of the city. It comes with a $2,500 check as well. And then they're doing a banquet here first week of April where they're going to announce the award again. And it's just kind of a cool thing. The Jazz have a lot of different things rather than, they help provide jerseys and tickets and get kids to games and stuff, but they have some playing cards. They have some lead together initiatives is what they call it, focus on sportsmanship and being accountable for your behavior. And Bailey has taken those things and integrated them into the program, and as a result was eligible to apply for this award, and we applied and we won it. So that's a cool thing for the city, and
Great.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. So hopefully we can get the Jazz out here. They said they'd come to a council meeting. So I'll try to get them scheduled here in the near future, and they can come talk about it. So
Whole team.
the whole team.
The whole team. Wow.
I think we might even get some tickets out of it, don't we, Rich?
Yeah, and then one other thing too. I'm not sure if we were going to do this or not, but Mayor had asked me to apply for the Healthy Utah Community Designation, and we got an email last week that we will be awarded that designation at the Utah League of Cities and Towns conference at the end of April.
Impressive.
So.
But it is supposed to be kind of kept quiet until after we
I
receive
apologize.
that. That's okay.
I
That's
must
okay.
have
These
missed
guys
that on
know.
the email.
That's okay. No, that's okay. That's okay. Until after they award it to us. But they are going to give us a bunch of materials to really announce it to the city once we, at that point.
great.
So it's called the Get Healthy Utah. And yeah, we had to put together a packet, and Rich was very helpful. Councilor Arnold?
I just have a comment on Bailey's performance. So I don't know how many of you are familiar with, the things that go on with the day-to-day operation of a league and all that kind of stuff, but that is not like a no-brainer, easy thing. You know, I mean, you have parents and coaches and, you know, I mean, the players themselves, but mainly coaches and parents, emphasis on parents probably, but I was involved with one issue that they had with a coach, and they handled it really well. And this particular person isn't exactly the easiest person to get along with in that arena. So, I mean, hats off to her for doing that, because it's not as easy as it sounds to be, like dealing with, you know, stuff like that. So it's good.
And I also wanted to say, as someone that has a son that plays in the, you know, the basketball program of the city, like we spent a lot of time focusing on police and fire and the services they provide, but our season couldn't have been any better. I mean, every game was right on time. The officials, coaches, I mean, the whole thing was run super well, and kids had a great experience, as they have pretty much every year. So it is a great service that you guys provide, and Bailey does a great job. She's going to be in charge of our parade this year, so I'm excited to work with her. And just so you know, one of the things, is there any other comments from the city staff?
I got just a couple updates maybe, and the mayor's familiar with at least one of these. Both of them involve 1050 West projects. The crosswalk under the 84 freeway has been awarded, and they want to kick that into gear as soon as weather permitting. So we should see that this year. Finally, that's to keep those kids off of 1050. They'll have a place to walk. And that's ready to go. I keep getting more and more calls on it, so they're getting close on moving on that. The other one is actually the roundabout on 1050. This thing, it's like a mystery thing. We couldn't figure out what was going on. We'll come to find out one of the reasons that was getting held up was when we did our public hearing. When was that, Michelle? 2019. So it's about just right at the start of COVID or right after. We had that public hearing. It was advertised. We went through all that process. People showed up. We had sign-up sheets and everything. UDOT's put it on hold because they have no record of it. Well, we have been frantically searching for weeks now, trying to find those records. We could find everything that led up to it, like the blank sign-up sheets. We could find everything, but not the actual stuff. And then we found it just this week. So by a stroke of luck, we have that, and that will be, if it hasn't already been passed on to Todd Freeman, who will get that to UDOT, that may kick that one into gear sooner than later. So they were going to make us redo everything, so we would have to back up. So that saved us a couple of years worth of time right there by finding that stuff. So that was kind of big. So just updates on both those. They are moving.
Very good.
That's all I had, Mayor.
Okay. That is good news. That's news to me that they found it. Did Jackie help you find it, or? No. Oh, okay. Well, they were reaching back to Jackie, like they were really digging. Anyway.
Some loose papers.
It was when
In Steve's office?
I know. Imagine that. Huh? Actually, in fairness, it was in the city administrator's office. It wasn't in my office, but.
The only person to ask that question.
I was going to say, that's amazing. You guys.
I would have been concerned, but I knew I had never seen those things, so it had to be in the other office. It was just a fluke of luck. It was a weird, freaky thing. Michelle had gone through that stuff 3 or 4 times, but we found it. Doesn't matter. We found it, and we move on. So, but you're right, Alan. I deserve that one. I deserve that.
Don't take it personally.
All the fire violations, I like my job.
Yeah. Oh, shoot. Okay, so they did mention Bailey. She is helping with the parade this year, and I had asked her to see if we could maybe step the parade up just a little bit. So any suggestions you guys might have, I'm meeting with her. We're reaching out to some of the businesses. We're going to try and get Bonneville to participate this year. And anyway, I just got a little feedback last year. The parade was kind of small, and it had kind of trended down over the past few years. So if you guys have any suggestions, please get them to me or Bailey on what we might include in that parade.
Put all handicap people in one section and let me know where that's at.
Yeah, okay. I forgot we had some issues too, and we're going to have a better parade this year just because of that alone. Okay. I would like to pursue that Ellis Drive thing a little bit. I don't know if you need to talk to America First. Were they the ones that asked for the 1500 West designation?
Just the removal of Cozadell Drive.
Yeah.
But
Well, and can it go by both, like the coordinate and the name, both?
I mean, yeah, it's more of a feel good thing at that point. We want to.
Yeah.
Because isn't Schneider's Drive.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still South Weaver Drive. I mean,
Yeah. Anyway,
it's probably only Schneider's Drive for like half a mile. Isn't
yeah.
it?
Yeah, so
I don't know either.
anyway,
We'll look at it.
yeah, just let you know that I would like to pursue that a little bit. So
It probably isn't that. It probably isn't something that's difficult at most, maybe like a resolution, I would think, but
Okay.
Steve and I can look into it.
okay, good. And that's all I have. So
Can I say one last thing? I just thought about this. Back, when we started our Facebook page, that's the city's position on everything. It makes me really nervous when we get commenting on that Riverdale Citizens page because we don't have any control on that, and I don't want people thinking that that's the city's position on things. And there's been times, now I recognize you're going to make some comments on this stuff, but be really, really careful on what you say because that could get us in some trouble. And especially where we don't control the content there, we don't know what's going to happen to that. So I'd rather you didn't comment on. My preference would be we post city's position on our page, and then if one of you guys want to link that to that citizens page, that would be the better way to do that. Just because we don't have any control over that, and if people start thinking that's the city's position, who knows what they could, try to point to us. So I'd rather you didn't if you can avoid that. I mean, as much as you can, especially when it's a city position. Now, there are times like if it's an emergency or something, we want to get that out. But I've reached out to Annie before and said, Annie, can you link this rather than me doing it or the mayor doing it? That would be my preference if we can do that. So just use some caution on that one.
okay.
Can I comment? I think everybody got an email a few weeks back from a reporter, KSL Deseret News, about the trailer park, Leslie Trailer Park. And I got it. I think maybe everybody got it. And I didn't like the tone of her questions because they were biased. And so I called her up and I talked with her. And I says, I'll give you an interview if you do not acknowledge that I'm a member of the city council. I'm talking to you as a citizen. And she agreed. And I gave her the interview, and a week later, she called me back and said, my editor says that's disingenuous, that they want to put, that I'm a city council member. And I thought about it, and I said, well, I want to put in as a caveat that I'm speaking as, and that's fine, you can do that, as long as you put a caveat that I'm speaking as a citizen and why I'm speaking. And she even went so far as emailed me what she wrote and let me edit my portion, which I thought was real, stand up of her. And I don't know if you saw it or not, but I think it came off well, and she did what she said she would do. And if you acknowledge that you're speaking as a citizen and why, I don't see, there's a fine line there, and you have to, acknowledge that. But to give up rights to speak in whatever forum is maybe asking a bit much, but to caveat it, I think it needs to happen.
And that's kind of what I'm saying, Bart. I'm not asking. It's a little bit different between you and staff. We're going to make a hardline stand on staff doing that because staff shouldn't be doing, because it does come across as the city's position, and that's not where we're going to do it. But I do recognize you guys are elected officials, and you need to respond to your constituents at the time. Just be very, very careful, because we never want to give the impression that we take a position on things prior to us having meetings. And especially if it's a public hearing, because then at that point we've deprived them of due process if you made your decision before that. So that's where you're going to get in trouble, and that's where we don't want to go. So just be very, very cautious about that. And I read that article, Bart, and I thought it was well done, and I'm okay with that. But just be really clear on that. You did. You did. We knew that, yeah. But sometimes they try to bait you into saying stuff, and that's what we don't want to do, because we're not getting into that arena, not on their forum. We're not going to do it. If we need to take a position, we'll do it on our page where we control that. So, and then it is the city's position. And again, if it's just one of you taking that position, that's not the council's position. That's just your position. So we just need to be careful with that. Just use a lot of caution.
Okay.
I was just teasing about hindsight.
All right. Any other comments? All right. We would need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion and a second. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
All right. We'll stand adjourned. Thank you.
When was the
Oh, it was there. Right out there.
the what?
To go into the meeting? Or?
Go into executive session?
Oh, no, we're going to go to the RDA meeting right now.
Oh,
We're gonna
that's
do that.
what's part of RDA.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, all right. If everybody's ready, we will start our RDA meeting now. So we'd like to welcome everybody to the Riverdale City RDA Board meeting for Tuesday, March 21st, 2023. Please let the record show that all board members are present, as well as members of the city staff. Seeing no members of the public, we will skip the public comment portion. And we have no presentations, no consent items. We do have one action item, and that is consideration to adjourn into a closed executive session pursuant to Utah Code 52-4-205 to discuss the purchase, exchange, or lease of real property. Do we have a motion for that?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Maragoni, will you poll the board to go into closed executive session?
Ms. Hanson?
Yes.
Mr. Hilton?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mr. Arnold?
Yes.
Who did I miss? Ms. Merrill? Yes.
All right, we are going into closed session. That's good on that healthy thing.
Oh, you talking to one out or Scott? No, go ahead. We'll deal with you guys different, separately. So. Well, I just know that most of them aren't here tonight, so you're good. No, you can take off. We'll talk about it in the morning.